And we're back, Jonathan.
Another episode of the Road to Code.
Wow. Just these episodes just keep going and going, huh?
Yeah, it's just nonstop.
Nonstop. That's
I
right.
lost track. I lost track of how many we're doing already.
Wow. I know. Me too. Like, where are we? Who knows? We're just gonna keep on pumping them out. So cool. All right. Well, let's jump into some merch. What do you got?
For merch, we have some merch available. Yes, we have women's t-shirts, men's t-shirts, and also mugs.
But the tote bags are gonna go away.
They're going away.
Oh, they're not gonna provide them anymore, are they?
Nope. That's gonna be it.
Darn it.
So you could just go onto our website and purchase one of these, or
Where's our website?
our website. Oh no. Oops.
What's the URL?
The URL is theroadtocode.net, and we have a merch tab right here.
So you just click on the official merch. It'll take you right to the place where you can get the merch.
Yeah.
But Jonathan, we're poor.
Mm-hmm.
Probably most of our listeners are poor, just like us, you know? Or wait, is it poor or broke? Which one is it?
It's broke.
Broke. Yeah, we're broke. So if we can't afford this merchandise, how do we get free merchandise?
All you have to do is enter our giveaway. We're having once a month at the end of the month.
Every last Sunday of the month.
Every last Sunday of the month.
Got it.
And we're giving away free merch. And
so
all you have to do is subscribe if you're not already, and comment on any one of our videos.
So you can subscribe if you haven't. If you are subscribed to our YouTube channel, which is, where do we go for the YouTube channel?
It's on Growing Up John.
So it's youtube.com/growing up JON.
Yeah. And this is my channel right here. All of the Road to Code content.
All right. So if you're already subscribed, just comment on any video. But what if we have nothing to say, Jonathan?
All you have to do is write, "Show me the merch."
Wait a second. So you're saying that they would just say, "Show me the merch," and that's it? They got it? Whoa. What happened?
Yes,
what?
Got it. We have merch.
We got merch. This is simple. That's all we got to do.
That's
subscribe.
All you got to do.
If you already subscribed, put something in the comments on any of our videos that says, "Show me the merch," and you'll be like us.
Yeah. Rocking the Road to Code merch.
That's right. Let me go ahead and finish up drinking my water here. Sounds pretty easy to me, Jonathan.
Yeah.
We should have a ton of people joining us, huh? With this merch.
Rocking all the Road to Code merch that we have.
That's right. Cool. And we're back, guys.
Another episode of the Road to Code
with a repeat guest host, Gerard, our hardware guy. We have a special episode for you guys today. Some of our hardware actually broke down. This is hardware that holds all our media files, our podcast, video, and it broke down, folks. We're gonna get into those details in just a moment. So guys, here's the situation. We have a machine that is a very old machine, but very faithful. This machine,
we like to call her Old Faithful.
Old Faithful, she's called. She's a machine that was built by yours truly back in 2012. And we're going to get into the details of the hardware as far as the brands are concerned and how it's made it this far. But I just want to talk about on the surface how we have all this hardware. We have a low-powered processor, since it's just a file server, and we also have tons of memory. Tons of memory because we do have a lot of media files, and it does run a media server as well. And you could see the hard drives. There's 4 hard drives in there, and each one of these hard drives is 3 terabytes. You would think that we have 12 terabytes, but because we're using a RAID, we actually lose the capacity of one drive, because whatever is saved on one drive is replicated to the next drive, and whatever is saved on the second drive is also replicated to the third drive, and so on till you get to the 4th one, which circles back and saves part of its files over here, so that if one of these drives ever dies, the data from this drive is existent in the other 3 drives, so that you don't lose anything until you get the opportunity to either copy the files off the machine or replace the hard drive. The operating system sits on this solid state drive because we want the operating system to be as fast as possible. And just for old time's sakes, we do have a CD-ROM. For any young folks that don't know what a CD-ROM is, you can ask your parents, but we kept it there for the sake of being able to copy files from a CD-ROM or a DVD and to put them into the hard drives themselves. And so next we'll get into the details of what this machine, how this machine broke. And so let's get into that. Gerard, our hardware guy here, is going to help explain what happened to the machine that broke down.
So exactly what happened was this bracket cracked that holds the CPU cooler, the heatsink.
This bracket happens to be the same bracket that is on the opposite side. So this bracket goes something like so. And what happens is that it holds this heatsink in place, which sits over the processor. This heatsink takes the heat from the processor, and there's a high-powered fan here and a high-powered fan in the back, which pulls in air to cool down the hard drives, brings air through this radiator, which is how the heatsink takes the heat from the processor, and then this fan sucks the hot air out the back of the machine. Gerard, you want to get into the physics as to how a machine that just sits still would break when it's not doing anything?
Well, basically the variation of temperatures, when the plastic heats up and cools down, it probably just weakened the link, and the tension that the heatsink puts on these brackets just eventually broke off from all the different temperature changes and just snapped.
So you're not saying that it was chipping away, because these edges are pretty sharp.
Yeah.
It's not the fact that it was like a knife just cutting, because a knife usually needs to be moving back and forth.
Exactly.
And this has no moving parts.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't. But the fact that we do have a sharp edge, which is where it clips on to this little bracket, you're saying that when it would heat up in the room, it would make the plastic soft.
Mm-hmm.
And because this is a sharp edge, and because there is a lot of tension in here,
A bunch
of tension to keep a lot of pressure between the processor and the heatsink,
Yep.
it slowly started cutting, just like you would put a hot knife through a stick of butter.
Exactly.
And that's how it broke, folks. So what were the symptoms that we ran into? Well, what happened is that it just turned off one day. Like what happened? So I went to go turn it back on, and it would turn on for about 5 seconds and just turn itself off. Do we know why it did that?
Overheating protection.
Exactly.
Shuts off.
So the processor has this built-in mechanism. I think it's even in the motherboard itself, right? The motherboard itself, if it senses that the processor is running too hot, it just cuts the power in. Done. There's no more power. It shuts down the machine and protects the processor, which is one of the most important components of running a computer. And so shutting down the processor, shutting down the power, it just cools the processor down immediately and protects it from overheating damage. Would that be about right? So my initial thought was I need to replace this motherboard, which means I got to buy a motherboard, I got to buy a processor, I got to buy memory, and I got to buy something that fits in this 10-year-old box. And my thought was like, man, I'm gonna have to spend a few $100s, maybe up to $1,000. I didn't know. And Gerard here tells me, just buy the parts. I was like, what are you talking about, buy the parts? I was like, where am I gonna, what do you even call this? Where's the part number? There's no part number. But lo and behold, we got a delivery. Follow me.
Good old Amazon.
We went over to Amazon. And we ordered some parts. We're just gonna throw that away. Not only did I get one,
Oh, man.
I got a whole bag of them. A whole bag of them. I'll probably never need more than one for another 10 years, but I got a whole bag of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and they were about $7 for this packet. We also have this, and we'll get into what this is in a moment. But let's just get rid of that. It gets in the way. This is what we need. If we look at this parts, this is what broke off. And this is what hooks onto the heatsink. It just hangs on. And eventually with this plastic heating and cooling so much, it just cut through it and broke off. And that's how we ended up with this broken piece. So let's talk about how we're going to install this piece. What is it that we need to do in order to get this back on the motherboard, because we just can't stick it back in there. There's actually some stuff that we have to do, and we'll be right back with that. All right, so we're back here with Gerard, who is going to start the repair process. Gerard, you want to start talking about what you're going to do?
Of course. So first thing we need to do is just install this little bracket onto the motherboard, like so.
So how careful do we need to be with this screws and motherboard, Beach?
Very.
Is this drill too hard, too fast that it's gonna...
Wait. How do you reverse it?
Press this button here.
Oh, there it is. Oh no, not at all.
All right, so this drill is gonna work out just fine.
Put it on loosely real quick. Get this side on first. we go.
And so that's the replacement piece that we have. Should we take precautionary measures and replace the other one?
I would.
Let's go ahead.
It's just as old as the black one that broke.
Yeah. So I would say, yeah, let's go ahead and replace that.
Magnetic tip.
That always helps when you're working inside delicate areas. You want to talk about this motherboard, Gerard?
I wasn't into computers at the time of this motherboard when it came out. It's so old. But it's a MSI A78M, which means it's a micro ATX motherboard. It's not a full ATX. This one's being difficult.
So what's the difference between micro ATX and full ATX?
Just the size.
Does size matter? Most people say it doesn't. I can tell you that this motherboard has been pretty strong in performance as far as being a file server and a media server. So I haven't had any problems with it.
There we go. Both brackets replaced.
Excellent. So we replaced both of them, not just because one of them wasn't broken and the other one was, but just the fact that it was just as old as the other one. It's gone through the same thermal cycles of heating up, cooling down, heating up, cooling down, that we decided just to be safe and replace both of them just as a precaution. And the next segment, we're going to go through some cleanup. And as we go through that cleanup, you'll see why, we'll get into the details of the processor and why it's important to clean it up. That's next. All right, guys, so in this segment of the video, we are actually going to do a little bit of cleanup. There is some residue on the processor and the heatsink. In fact, I can show you on the heatsink where there is some goo on there. And that goo is actually called
Thermal paste.
thermal paste.
Yes.
Explain to us what is thermal paste and what is its role between the contact of the heatsink and the processor.
It just basically gets the processor's heats and transfers it through to the heatsink.
But these are some pretty smooth surfaces. Why can't we just put the processor and the surface of this smooth metal and just put them together without this messy gooey stuff?
Even though it looks smooth on the outside, it's not. There's a bunch of grooves and everything, so you use the thermal paste to close those gaps up and just transfers heat easier.
So if I'm understanding correctly, if we look at my hand is not flat. So even though the metal of the surface of the metal looks very smooth, you're saying it's more like this at the microscopic level. So that if we were to put what would seemingly be two smooth pieces of metal, they're actually separated.
Yeah.
And there's only touch points. And so what we're doing is we're filling up the two pieces of metal so that we get full contact at any given point and not just touch points. We get full flat contact.
Yeah.
So any heat that's being generated by the processor gets transferred through the thermal paste up into the heatsink, which is this metal area. This metal area then transfers the heat through these pipes. And as you can see, the pipes run alongside these fins. And then there's cool air that goes through these fins, cools down the pipes as the heat's being transferred.
Exactly.
Hence the
The
heat
heat
sink.
sink.
It's like a kitchen sink where the water just goes down the drain. This ends up being the drain for the heat
Exactly.
and gets dissipated by getting cooled down by the wind or the air that's being forced through these fans. Very cool. So we need to get rid of all this gunky stuff.
Nasty.
Nasty it is. So where do we start, Gerard?
We start by using these.
Oh, nice.
They're cleaning products by
Alright.
R2C, and that's what I use on all my processors. And yeah, just apply a few drops on the heatsink and the processor. And
Do we
let it
need
do
any
its job.
cotton swabs or anything?
I just usually use just a toilet paper or
Toilet paper?
or
Like the same stuff you clean the other gooey stuff?
poop.
So toilet paper
Yeah, or you could
Paper
use
towel.
paper towel.
or paper towel?
Yeah.
I got those. Let me go get some. Paper towels. All right. We'll let the hardware pro do his work here. I will shine the light. So you're literally just pouring it straight onto the processor.
Exactly.
You're not worried about it damaging anything?
Nope. Not
Why
at
is
all.
that?
The surface tension basically just keeps it on the processor.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. You just let it sit for a couple seconds and let it do its magic, basically.
So it's kind of like a liquid that chews gum?
5 gum.
5 gum. It's pretty amazing. That makes me nervous.
Really?
Yeah. But what is the liquid made out of?
It smells very citrusy.
Like orange juice?
Yeah? You want to smell it?
Yeah. Oh, you're right.
Like the orange cleaner.
Yeah.
I could smell it from here.
Oh, it's like the orange cleaner that the mechanics use for their hands.
Yep.
Oh, that is interesting. And so this basically just dissolves the gunk
Yeah.
that got built.
Solidified.
Interesting. So if the liquid was to get on the motherboard, is this something that we should concern ourselves with?
No, you just damp it or you pat it dry.
Okay.
Yeah. That's about it.
Okay.
It's just kind of like how thermal paste gets on the motherboard. It's not too bad.
Okay.
Just do a little swirly swirl. I feel it. It's still like gunked up on there, but it's softening up as I do this.
Yeah, I can see that.
Just like that.
Whoa, you can see the letters now.
Wow, look at that.
It is an AMD A10 6800 series. Interesting.
Hey, look, it was all the money I can afford at the time.
What I usually do is just apply one more and then clean it off with another clean paper towel. Get that extra cleanliness. There we go.
Wow. A10 processor?
Yeah. AMD A10.
Is that a good processor?
Back then, maybe it was. I think that's the highest one that they go. I think they had like A6, A7. I'm pretty sure.
The A stands for Athlon.
That I do not know. Maybe?
And so what do we put under now?
It's just a cleaner.
Which is?
It's cleans off the other stuff that is intense and cleans the thermal paste off of it.
So if the other one smelled like orange, this one smells like lemon or something?
I don't even know how this one smells. Let's see. Doesn't smell like anything. It smells like cleaner or something.
Yeah. You know what? It smells like a watered down version of nail polish. Wow, look at the shine behind that. Maybe now we could tell what name it is. That is very clean.
It's a brand new processor.
We just got it 12 years ago.
It's 9, really.
Who's counting?
Who's counting?
Now this will be a job for that liquid. Let's just set it down again so it's not moving in my hands.
And that's the orange cleaner?
Yeah. Sure is.
Do you need more paper towels? I can bring a couple more.
Please. Whoa. It just freaking touched a big piece of the... Whoa. Thank you. Let's just wipe the big piece off.
Almost like a booger coming out, huh?
Nasty. Okay.
Reminds me when you guys were kids.
That's not how our poop looked like, did it?
No, that was your boogers.
Let that sit for a little bit.
I feel much more comfortable having liquid on the outside of my motherboard than inside where the motherboard's at.
I'm surprised that with how old the thermal paste is, the processor didn't fall off with the heatsink, because that's a common thing that happens to AMD processors.
Yeah, the reason is because this, if you come down here, you'll see that there's a lever that actually keeps it in place.
Yeah, even with that lever in, there are times where the thermal paste gets so stuck onto
the
processor and the heatsink, the processor just comes out with the heatsink.
Got it.
Okay, I feel like that's a good amount of time. Let's really swirl.
More gunk.
Yeah.
Wow. Shiny.
It actually looks like copper.
Is copper a better conductor of heat?
Conductor? Yes, it is.
As well as a electrical conductor.
Exactly.
But not a train conductor.
Pretty much done cleaning everything off. The VRM cooler too. That's cool.
VRM cooler.
Yeah.
Well, while that's happening, while the magic is happening over there with the heatsink,
Sorry, I'm kind of nerding out on this.
let's talk a little bit about the motherboard itself. What do you see in here?
I'm seeing that you filled up all your RAM slots.
There is 32 gigs of RAM in there. Each one of those is 8 gigs, and that is the maximum on this motherboard. And so the whole point was that if this was going to be a file server, what I wanted was to have the ability to connect multiple machines, since this also acts as my media server. So I have several devices. I have several Amazon Fire Sticks attached to the file server to be able to play movies. I also have several machines that transfer files between this machine and another. It also shares drives with several virtual machines that I'm running. If you can bring the camera over here on this particular machine that we got where the light is shining. This particular machine is a virtual appliance, and essentially I'm running about half a dozen virtual machines, and so those virtual machines depend on this file server to share its files with it, and so both machines kind of work together in conjunction. So I wanted to make sure that there was plenty of RAM for connectivity purposes to be able to share those files. That was really the main purpose behind all the memory. Sweet. Now you said it had a VRM cooler, what is VRM?
Voltage regulator module.
Got it. And you'll notice that it's right next to the fan itself.
Yeah.
And so this machine
Helpful.
actually has broken down a couple times. I did put some brushless fans on there
By Corsair.
by Corsair.
Smart
I think they were actually recommended by you, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so.
I put one in the back, and I also have one in the front over here. You can't really see it because it's just it's inside these grooves here. But they're both equal speed, both regulated by the motherboard. And so the fan in front basically brings in the air, cools down these drives, because these drives are constantly going. They're green labeled, which means that they're not always on. But due to the demand of the file sharing, they pretty much are on all the time. And so even though they don't produce a whole lot of heat, they do produce some heat, and it is smart to cool them down occasionally. And so we do that with the constant flow of air. And then with the fan pulling the air out, you can see where it brings the air through the heatsink, and we'll cool down that as well as the voltage regulator meter. What else do we got in here, John? Beach?
It's a 600 watt power supply by I don't know what brand.
This is
Lipa?
a Lipa.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an MX 600 watt. This one, I think I just picked it up on Amazon because my power supply did go out once. And so I did replace it. I don't think it was that expensive. I think it's probably like $30 maybe.
I was going to say about $30.
Yeah, $30. Yeah, it wasn't too bad.
What I'm doing now is just cleaning off the purifier. I think that's what they call it. It looks brand spanking new.
It's polished off. All right. So in our next segment, we'll go ahead and start putting in some of that thermal paste, and we'll start putting this beast back together, and we'll watch it turn on.
All right, we're back, and we're about to apply the heatsink, so that way we could connect this puppy back together again.
We will be applying some thermal paste. Arctic, really good brand. The MX4, can't go wrong with them. This is brand spanking new. Tape.
All right, so this is the stuff that makes both surfaces smooth so they can transfer. Wow. It comes in a, this is
that a COVID shot?
This is pretty scientific right here.
Yep. So we apply this thermal paste onto the processor, and it's very controversial which way we apply it. I don't really care. I usually do the dot formation little type thing. A lot of people do the X. A lot of people do a bunch of dots down the middle. Or you could just use the spreader and spread the paste. Which way would you like to go?
What's worked for you in the past?
I've always used the dot method, the pea-sized dot. And I used that on 3 other PCs that I built with no problem. And they haven't done any, or they have pretty good, what's the word? Pretty good results.
All right, let's do it. Since you're the hardware expert here, let's go ahead and do it your way.
Alrighty, here we go. Wish me luck. There we go. Perfect.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, wow. I feel like there was a lot more goo that was like all over the whole thing than that.
Once you, because there's a lot of tension on the heatsink using these little anchors. You press it down, it's like spreads everywhere. That's probably like perfect amount too.
Yeah.
So let's get this baby on. One side is on. And side number 2 is on.
All right, in this segment, we're gonna put this computer back together, make sure the cover is on so that way it works properly and the airflow, you know, goes through the machine instead of just all over the place. And hook up all the powers and we'll see if it turns on this screen right here. Cover.
Which way is the back? I think that's it, yeah. Just goes.
There you go. Right?
Oh. Yeah, that should be it. Thumb screws. Just need a. Yeah, there's this one right here. I think these ones go on the back. Didn't really need to take them back anymore. Beat ya. Alright. Sweet. Now, go ahead and stand it up. Fingers crossed.
Plugging in the power,
Power supply cable.
hooking up to your extension cord, plugging it to the wall.
Yeah. Alright. Now, move these real quick. We'll put the monitor in front.
Yes.
Here's the HDMI to motherboard. Whoa. And power to the monitor. Fingers crossed. Flip the switch. Power on. This one. And also the screen. USB dongle. Push it. Hop, skip, and a jump. And
It's making some noise.
fans are going.
May have to switch the channel on that monitor.
Buttons are on that side.
Oh, actually the power's off.
Push power.
Power's the bottom one, I believe.
Yeah, pushed it. Did you?
There it goes.
That's off.
Oh.
There we go. Please wait.
Some pretty quiet fans in there.
Yeah, definitely. Pretty quiet because the sound dampening that we use in this one, instead of putting a top exhaust fan, we just use sound dampening, and it's really quiet with that. Still gets good airflow, but as you can see, it turned on.
Oh, you have to turn on the keyboard. There it is.
Oh man.
It's working like a charm.
Yeah.
Very nice. So that concludes this episode of the Road to Code, where we actually fixed our file server, and now we're back in business. We're able to get our media files back online, back on YouTube, and safe where they belong, which is in this box. Thank you, Gerard, for the hardware work that you've done. Appreciate it. And Jonathan?
That ends our episode of the Road to Code.
Excellent.
Learn something new every day.
Yeah,
That's right.
definitely learned a lot
Until next time,
on the Road to Code.
peace out.
That's cool. Really cool, guys. Good job.